Hello everyone. Now I will present the content of work task 1. The paper I selected is knowledge sharing barriers in global teams. The content have 5 sections. The first one is the research area and the theoretical focus. At present, while knowledge sharing is becoming more and more popular and in-depth, the barriers involved in it are gradually emerging, and they have a great hindrance to knowledge sharing activities. In order to understand and overcome these barriers to ensure the normal operation of knowledge sharing activities, this article by Madeline starts with the introduction of the offshore model, the environment of knowledge sharing, and barriers to knowledge sharing. The factors were analyzed, and on this basis, a series of countermeasures to overcome them have proposed accordingly. The theoretical focus of this paper is to analyze the barriers of knowledge sharing in global teams. With the continuous development and application of information and communication technologies, many service businesses that were difficult to cross border and trade have become increasingly digital, modular, and transmitted over the network, enabling multinational companies to deploy value chains globally. The knowledge sharing of multinational corporations in different geographical regions also affects the improvement of learning and service efficiency due to barriers such as distance and time difference. Many scholars have studied the barriers to knowledge sharing on a global scale. In this paper, the author proposes 4 other barriers in specific corporate research practices and discusses the interaction between various factors. The goal is to provide a new and understandable perspective to learn the relationship between barriers and knowledge sharing. Then the second one is define the problem that is in focus. The company's use of global teams have many advantages, but the barriers to knowledge sharing are also difficult to avoid. This article classifies the factors summarized by previous scholars from onshore and offshore. For knowledge sharing, some factors are not only barriers but also enablers. Like technology, related technologies are important tools for knowledge sharing activities, such as data mining technology, groupware technology, and computer network technology. Knowledge sharing is the exchange and the use of knowledge within the enterprise, breaking the barriers between different knowledge owners, promoting the full flow of knowledge among employees within the enterprise, improving the knowledge and the workability of employees, and thus maximizing savings in knowledge. The cost and benefit of the application and the innovation of knowledge, but knowledge sharing in global teams does not happen naturally. In addition to the sharing barriers caused by the form of knowledge itself, there are also capacity relationship framework and the sharing barriers caused by a lack of recognition. And the third one is solutions and the key concepts. The authors used a qualitative research approach and selected 2 companies, Firm A and Firm B, that have used the global team for more than 2 years. Data collection takes the form of a semi-structured interview and is conducted by 3 experts from the same fields. The analysis of the data uses the form of content analysis to distinguish between the barriers that exist in the previous literature and the newly discovered factors. The 2 companies will present different results, and the author will compare and analyze the results separately from Form A and Form B. The key concepts of this article revolve around knowledge sharing, distinguishing and understanding the ways in which global companies share and the factors that are considered barriers. Uh, the next one, practical application. In our daily work, people tend to do things that are good for themselves, and they are not willing to do things that sacrifice their interests and benefit others. In the process of knowledge sharing, people are not willing to give their knowledge gained through hard work to others, and they do not want to form a substitute or competitive threat to their status after others acquire their knowledge. Therefore, people tend to, in order to protect their interests, they must be cautious about the issue of knowledge sharing. They tend to monopolize knowledge, try to make knowledge personal, and thus shape their competitive advantage. Rather than let their knowledge be shared and the acquisition of research and innovation knowledge. Much investment is needed, including capital, technology, time, and energy, and even hard work. So the authors believe that this is the most fundamental factor that makes knowledge sharing challenging to achieve or fully realize. Besides, we find that knowledge sharing is conditional. Even if we are willing to share knowledge, we may not be able to achieve the best state of knowledge sharing. This is because knowledge sharing itself are limited by the sharing of both sides. The ability to express and understand and the basic knowledge of both sides, the sharing process itself is costly. It takes time, brain power, etc. If people share the knowledge in the sharing process, the effort of the knowledge receiver to obtain knowledge more than their gains. In this case, the receiving learner will not waste his time and energy. The last one, discussion. Knowledge sharing increases the overall knowledge level of the organization, but this is good for the whole and not necessarily for the individual. And then the third one, in addition, the traditional pyramid type organization level is too much. Lack of adaptability and flexibility. The work of employees is arranged in a narrow scope. Internal communication still has insurmountable hierarchy gap, which is not conducive to face-to-face communication. And that's the question: how to share knowledge in this organization. The sharing of employee knowledge within the organization requires places and conditions. This paper basically gives a model of how the specific academic theory can be sublimated and perfected in practice. In the field of knowledge sharing, choose to analyze and summarize the barriers. It fills the gaps in the previous papers. Like some authors just extract barriers from the process of knowledge sharing in normal organizations. This article provides people with another perspective on the barriers to knowledge sharing. It may not be only be barriers, but also enablers, and there may be corresponding links between different factors. And that's all. Thanks for listening.